Hi everyone, Darren Hunter here with the Unbusy podcast show. And Michael, you've released your book, the Unbusy book, and we're about to release the link, everyone. But you'll be able to get the book at unbusyyourpropertymanagers.com. So I reckon by the time this podcast comes out, Michael, that book will be well and truly out there, unbusyyourpropertymanagers.com. Now, Michael, we're talking today, one of the big reasons that people call you to talk about virtual assistants, of course, because we've got, I think, over 100 now working with property management agencies, real estate agencies over Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. And the one of the big things that always drops out of people's mouths when they call you with the big problem they have is that they cannot get or they can't afford quality staff anymore, that the quality staff are out there, but they're way above what they can actually pay. So, Michael, one of the things that you told me, so everyone, we're going to explore the four reasons that we know that have greatly contributed to this problem. Michael, tell us about, the younger property managers and the older property managers. What's happened there of why the unaffordability has come in? What's caused that?
Yeah, I think you see like across the market, especially with so many property managers that have left the industry, young property managers are coming in and they're asking for senior rates. Like they're asking to be paid the same level of salary as what someone with 10 plus years experience has. And it's not realistic for business owners to cover that. And you've got the senior property managers, they're all wanting to leave the industry. It's really an affordability crisis now, right? Like they can't afford to live, so they're looking for other jobs that are high paying. And then young people coming into the marketplace and they're now, wanting senior level salary.
Yeah, I agree. And I know the cost of living crisis has caused a real problem out there because, the people's food costs have gone up, their insurances have gone up, electricity's gone up, gas has gone up, everything's gone up, mortgages have gone up, rents have gone up. We know that. And so where before they were able to live on the salary that you were paying for a quality staff member, now they can't. And so that's really greatly contributed, hasn't it, Michael?
Yeah, totally. And then you get the inexperienced property managers and some of the experienced property managers who they have a relationship with the tenants saying, hey, they're great tenants. I recommend we don't put the rent up because otherwise they'll move out. And then you get officers that are like saying, well, hang on, if the rent's not going up, how are we going to get extra income as a business because we're missing out there? And then if we're not getting extra income as a business, we can't afford to pay the pay rises that the experienced staff and the junior staff are wanting to get paid. It's really cyclical. So the businesses are hurting by this, Darren. Like they can't afford to pay, the budget isn't there for good quality staff, the senior staff. And it's really cyclical. It's really hurting everyone, this cost of living.
Okay, so let's move on with this. So we've talked about younger people, their expectations are so much more because they want to be on executive manager wages, in their first year and those sort of things. So unrealistic expectations. And of course, our older, experienced people just can't afford to live on the salaries that the average officers were offering before. But Michael, you've also talked about what called another issue or problem that's caused it is what you've called water cooler talk. What is that? How has that contributed to this problem?
Oh, yeah, I see this, and I'm sure everyone sees this on social media too. So you've got someone pops up on social media and they'll say, hey, I manage, I don't know, 150 rental properties. What salary should I be getting paid? And then you get people in the capital cities saying, oh, well, I get paid this much. And then people in the regional towns where the budget isn't there getting paid, 2/3 of that. They see that and go, oh my gosh, why aren't I getting paid that? And they go to their bosses, hey, these people are getting paid this much money. If you don't match that, I'm going to have to leave and find somewhere else to work that's going to pay me that.
Yeah.
And, Darren, you're dealing with areas that have got lower rents, right? And so in order to get that money, they need to manage either twice or three times the amount of properties or pump up their fees.
Yep.
And they're setting an unrealistic expectation. It's like when people say, how many properties should I be managing? Oh, I only manage 80 and that's comfortable. Oh, I manage 200 and that's comfortable. Or that's too much for me. So it's almost like a digital water cooler, Darren. Social media is now that place that everyone kind of gets together and talks about what's happening.
I even saw a post by, it was on LinkedIn from a recruiter that has now started up a database of quality property managers that are looking for the next job. And if you were interested in the list of quality property managers they got, they said what location they lived in, what location they worked in, so you can see, and also what their expectation of salary was, and it was well over into six figures. And I think that's all well and good, but this now takes us into the next problem. If businesses can't afford it, it means nothing. That a quality property manager can say, look, I've got 20 years experience, I should be paid accordingly. Yes, if the ability to pay that is there. And so that's where we go into this now, this lack of fee income that businesses now have. And this is where I know, as a fee expert, having worked on fees for the last 20 years over 3 countries with hundreds and hundreds of rent rolls, most rent rolls fees are crap. And they're not built for the stresses of today. They're not built for the salary demands of today. They were simply started off as a side thing that we are a sales company. Oh, yes, we do property management because we end up selling properties to property investors that need to get it managed. Well, we may as well do it, and we'll just charge this. And it was this side income thing. It was never done designed for the rent roll to be profitable on its own. It's simply to serve rentals and serve sales. And that's why I see these piddly little, management fees and a few add-ons thrown in, and it's not now serving the needs of today. And this is where I know this can be changed. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't believe my message, Michael. We know that. We can get better fees. We can get better add-on fees and all of that. But a lot of businesses don't believe it's true. So if they can't change their financial position with their current fees, you are not going to be able to pay these salaries that people are now demanding. So that's probably the third issue, is that I know quality property managers want it, but it doesn't mean businesses can pay it.
Can you imagine going to a business owner and saying, hey, your business, the fees that you set in your business now, they're going to stay the same for the next 20 years. And regardless of what happens with trends and wars and recessions and whatever happens in the future, don't change it. And then you're looking back 20 years ago and you priced your business based on what was available at the time. But I mean, Darren, like since 2003, when I started, mobile phones have gotten, they're more expensive. There's different data plans. There's rents have gone up. We spoke about it before, but so many offices still have the same pricing structure that they had 20 years ago and haven't taken in any consideration for the changes that we've gone through.
They haven't. And I know, and we know, Michael, because we've secret shopped over 1,300 rent rolls now over Australia and New Zealand. We know what the fees are. And I know, for example, as just an example, in South Australia, a third of agents charge for routine inspections. Now, just as an FYI, everyone can be charging for routines. Yes, you can, because owners, of course, they focus on the management fee. But I know back in 1997 and 98, I was charging $30 for a routine inspection. And that was okay back then. But still, out of those third of agents in Adelaide charging for routines, 80% of those are charging $33 including GST, or $35 or $22 or even $11. It's ridiculous. And because they just don't believe it's possible to get better and haven't adjusted those fees accordingly. And we are now easily getting, in fact, I'm a bit embarrassed to work with officers that are now doing $99, because $99 is still not enough when a plumber is going to charge $150, used to be $130, to change a leaky washer. So you're right. Officers are just not serious about their fees. And that's why it's a big reason why they can't pay the salaries of these quality staff. Now, that's a huge reason. And of course, if you want to change that, you can speak to me, just get in touch with me about your fees, because that's what I do. Michael is, of course, our VA expert. But let's move on, because this is not about fees. So the fourth reason, Michael, we've covered We've got the expectations, the younger around salaries. We've got the older with the cost of living crisis has forced them to go and find better income. But of course, the water cooler talk, which is the awareness, the digital awareness out there, that's a huge thing. We've talked about just the lack of fee income, but the fourth one. Now, 2 years ago, they were warning when we come out of COVID, they were warning that a third of property managers are going to leave. But they did. They did. And now that's led to this crisis of, there's so many offices out there, they're just short-staffed and they can't get staff. And so what's caused this huge exodus, Michael, aside from the cost of living crisis, what's also caused it?
You mean besides the difficult tenant and the difficult owners that have got unrealistic expectations on how they want their property managed in today's market, with new changes in legislations and governance and all these new ways you've got to manage the property? You mean that?
Yeah, correct. And I think also, I remember many years ago, right back to the GFC, the global financial crisis, and out of that, and I remember, and this is where my book, The PM Fee Script Secrets, really came out of, okay? Because I had a prominent national trainer come to me saying, Darren, it's all good and well for you to promote these fees, but a lot more owners are quibbling on these fees, and this is where "but the other agent is cheaper" that really came to prominence. And there was a lot more owners quibbling on their fees. And there was an attitude that came out of they're a lot more fee focused than ever before. And that was born out of the global financial crisis. But what's now been born out of the COVID crisis, which has turned into the cost of living crisis, is this underlying anger. There's so much more anger and rage and anxiety that people have than ever before. And I believe, as you said, that's really contributed to the difficulty of property management.
Yeah, I guess so. We see it, you see the mystery shopping, Darren. Property managers, they don't have the time or the capacity to call people back because they are so overworked. And they're scared. A lot of property managers are scared of the type of communication that comes in and how they're going to handle it. And, I had, Darren, virtual assistants used to take every single tenant and trading inquiry that came into the office. That meant that that pressure and burden was taken off the property manager from even worrying about, is this tenant going to be hostile? Because as long as we could give the tenant a response back immediately and they didn't have to wait, there was no issue. But we see in offices now, we consult in offices, they're scared to speak to the tenant. They screen calls coming through. And then they have this anxiety when they go home and they're stressed, and then they leave, they quit because they can't handle the stress. It's relentless. And that's why I don't understand, Darren, why people don't explore virtual assistants. We know that they can't. There's an issue paying staff with the fees that a lot of offices are charging. They haven't got the surplus there. They worry about the burnout of the property managers, and it's a real thing. The property managers will leave. I think it's 2 years now people are staying in a business before they look at leaving again because they can't handle the stress and the growth and they look for more income. And you've got outsourcing. So whether outsourcing is for someone, Darren, that's a personal decision they've got to make with their business. But for me, having it set up that the tenants and the trades, all that communication went straight to the VAs, worked. Right? It worked. There was no pressure. The property manager could have coffee with the owners.
Yep. And so that's really leading now back to the phone calls that you're getting. Michael, I can't find quality staff. So let's talk about the VA solutions. So there's still a lot of businesses, owners out there that discredit this solution. Now, I've personally been working with virtual assistants since 2007. Our whole business at IGT is based on virtual assistants. We've got executive assistants, but they're all based in the Philippines. We wouldn't dream of hiring locally because this solves so many problems. And so, Michael, I guess a lot of owners still have a lot of what we call the big buts. And we've covered those in your book. So I really want to encourage everyone to get Michael's book, the Unbusy Your Property Managers book. Just go to unbusyyourpropertymanagers.com. The book is free. You just got to pay for shipping. All right. You cover the shipping. You're going to get this book here. Plus, also when you reserve your hard copy that's going to come in the post, you'll also get an ebook version and an audiobook version right away. So you can just get listening to it while you're waiting for the hard copy to arrive. Now, right away, no, again, one of the issues is, virtual assistants take too much time to train, or I've got concerns about their English skills. All of that, will they work at my time zone? We answer that in the book. But one of the big benefits immediately that a virtual assistant, Michael, that comes into the business. Now, we very quick to say they're not going to replace your high-end property managers that deal with your owners and go and do inspections. But Michael, what does it allow a virtual assistant to, the benefit of coming in? What does it do for the current staff structure? What does it immediately relieve?
It frees up the property managers to be able to focus on the higher level tasks. So you've got a virtual assistant, and as I said before, my VAs would take all the tenant inquiries and trade inquiries. So that meant that there was a massive reduction in communication going into the office, which meant that the property managers had time to breathe and get their work done with minimal distraction, which meant that I was getting a high quality output. And I think, Darren, that until agencies clean up that communication of tenant and trades coming into the office, they're always going to have that level of burnout, because the property managers are still going to be taking the tenant calls, the trade calls, the owner calls, and it's going to be relentless. But having a virtual assistant to start clearing up that communication, at least as a minimum, and then you start looking at the renewals, the leasings, the CMAs, the entering in invoices, maintenance, all those other tasks, they can start helping the property manager with. And the property manager is there as like an executive person who just reviews and looks over things.
Yep.
And their life now becomes like a concierge to the business.
So everyone, we've listed 30 things that you can relieve your property managers of right away, the everyday mundane grind tasks that's keeping your property managers, your quality, scarce property managers, because we haven't got enough of them, you're keeping them busy in the hamster wheel that could be easily done by a virtual assistant. So you can free them up to be able to focus on that, on all those emails that they're burdened with, with landlords and tenants, and that lack of communication and not giving, to be able to focus on quality communication, getting all of that done, getting those high-end things done that only a property manager do. So the book allows you to explore and look at what I can still keep with my property managers and what I can now delegate to my virtual assistants, which are really property manager assistants, but just not based in the office. And Michael, I think we need to mention, in the story you'll find in the book, Michael was able to do, and out of 650 properties that he was managing across 84 suburbs in Melbourne, he only needed to employ one full-time property manager and one part-time property manager, because he had 3 virtual assistants that were doing up to 80% of the work very successfully. So you'll see in the book Michael's journey with that, how he did that, but of course the 30 tasks that he delegated that you can also consider as well. So let's move on. Now, the other thing I love about virtual assistants, Michael, is the consistency and loyalty they bring. How does an office achieve that? Now, we typically have staff members staying 1 year, 2 years, 6 months. What can an office expect with a good virtual assistant should they look after them?
Yeah, if you look after your virtual assistant, you'll get longevity. They want consistency with their life. They want to know that they start on Monday, finish on Friday. They're looking for the trust. They want to be with you forever. Where it fails, though, is like where an agency ignores them and doesn't help them, or doesn't show them their expectations and things like that. Darren, we've got people with us over 6 years.
Yeah, and I've got a VA that's been with me 10. So, and that's it. You look after them. You are the solution to their problem. Is they need consistency of income. And if you get that, you've got loyalty. The loyalty is so strong. They're not thinking about, oh, well, now it's time for me to go and get a better job and a better paying job. They're not thinking about that. All right. And so you get this amazing consistency in your business, that those tasks that you've properly assigned and, of course, trained that virtual assistant to, it just gets done in the background and tickety-boo like a Swiss watch. It really is. And it's amazing the stability of that part of the business that you can get when you place it in the hands of a virtual assistant. So, and the other thing, Michael, the last thing we can talk about with the big benefit that a virtual assistant brings to the business is the cost. Is that, we know with a person in the office, you're paying a quality wage, you're paying a high wage, hopefully your fees can cover it. And then you've got the desk cost as well. And we know the desk cost is about 30%, isn't it, of that person's wage?
Yeah, and we're seeing that push up more, Darren, because a lot of operating expenses are going up even higher, and companies aren't increasing their fees at all. So, those costs are going up, and we've seen it pushing up 30 to 50%. And it's a silent cost too. Like, a lot of companies don't even factor that in. They factor in just the income that they're paying someone, and the salaries, and then the income that's coming in.
And we know that, with a property manager now with desk costs, it's going to be pushing you up, that 120,000. But of course, we're talking about employing people that are like property manager assistants here. And we know that a good virtual assistant, all costs are going to be about 50% of what you can expect if you have to go and do the same and employ that same type person with the same tasks in the office. So they provide a great, very cost effective as well when it's done right. So I just invite you, Michael, the people here that want to explore this option a lot more, to get in contact with Michael, what's the best way?
Just go to unbusychat.com, book into my diary directly, and we can set a time.
Yeah, unbusychat.com, or just go to hello@teamsbydesign.com as well, and send an email, and you can book directly into Michael's diary course at unbusychat.com. So, Michael, good session here. 4 reasons why offices can't get quality staff, and 3 good benefits of the virtual assistant brings to the office. I think right now, honestly, offices that have ignored this solution in the past can't ignore it anymore. Things have changed, structures have to change. And this solution, which has been around for a very, very long time, a lot more business owners are becoming more serious with that. So thanks, everyone. And we'll see you in the next podcast episode.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.